know we're already live. As it's starting to start the live stream, I figured that out earlier, so I'm going to talk to you guys now. I am here today with Azadeh Atzberger about her brand new book. Hold on one second now. Start the live stream. I figured that out earlier. Can you hear me, peeps? Can you hear me? I can hear me. So today launched Azadeh's brand new book, and it's called Adult Children of Narcissistic Parents. With God, We Will Rise and Rebuild. I've read this book, being the publisher, 2.5 times. And both times I read it, I picked up new stuff. And I have to ask you, Azadeh, I know this isn't your first book, but I want to immediately dive right into this one because it was really intense. When you went into detail about your own addiction and your own, behaviors, what motivated you to be that transparent? Because that's not easy nowadays. We want to show up a certain way.
Absolutely. And hello to everybody, and thank you for being here, and thank you, Melissa, for having me. When you or I go through very, very dark times, the only other healthy way to channel it out is to rise above and share it so others can heal. There is almost no other way to get that satisfaction, that internal fulfillment, than to share the darkness and bring it into the light for the sake of the next person that could be struggling and could be thinking, well, should I share my story? And maybe I will now so I can help somebody else.
That's true. And it was so brave for you to bring that story to light, because you're talking about your parents, you're talking about your childhood. And I'm not going to give away anything in the book because it is an amazing, amazing read. One of the things that I noticed is you were able to keep a good flow and tone throughout the book. So it was an emotional read, but I was always like right there mentally with it. I never felt like your writing got too emotional. It was extremely just easy to follow. So I want to ask you though, what did it feel like when you took that switch from, I'm realizing these are trauma responses. I'm realizing now that I was a victim of this as a child, and this is where my behavior came from. What was that like when that switch flipped? How did it feel?
Oh, I gotta tell you, first of all, thank you for giving me your feedback and how you were able to follow along. That was my purpose and my hope. But for me on the other end, oh my goodness, this was a very challenging and difficult book to write emotionally. In fact, earlier in the book, I do suggest if it's just too much for anybody, put it down, as I did. There was times that I wanted to push through because I had ideas and I had thoughts and I had mostly memories. And I had to discipline and take care of myself and put it down because I had reached my emotional limit. So the word is on this. Please don't zip through it. If you're like me, you want to zip through stuff, put it down and give yourself some time, because it's very, as like you said, the word is intense and it is very to the point, and it's and so it can definitely trigger emotions, memories, and sadnesses. And on the other end, there's good stuff. As we know, there's solution in there too.
Well, and there was a lot of enlightenment, because what I do want to say about this book, it does say adult children of narcissistic parents. However, this book is applicable to someone who's had any type of a narcissist in their life, where it was a partner, it was a friend, it was, a child, whoever it was that was a narcissist. It's all the same how you deal with it, and it's about recognizing it. And when I read it, it was like a sock in the gut for a minute on a part of it, because I was like, I didn't realize this is a trauma response from that. And it gave me permission to give myself grace. because I realized in that moment, okay, this isn't some flaw I have. This isn't something that, I created within myself. This is a reaction to very serious things that have happened, and relationships I've been through. And you wrote this book like a guidebook. I love how you set each chapter up. Now, I'm an acronym person. So when you set it up as acronyms, that works for me, because that's like step 1, step 2, step 3. And to be able to see what steps did I need, what steps had I maybe worked on already. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you did put it in step format, but you mentioned before, like in your ruminate part, you might need to go back and forth.
Absolutely. Really, really good point. And it kind of piggybacks a little bit on the first question, is that if we have these original imprints from childhood, we will attract, it will be our familiar. I have attracted, I think, 6 or 7 narcissists in my life. And that's when I had to stop and say, and really look at the dynamics and the process. So yes, if you are in a romantic relationship, if you have a child, if you have parents, if you have a boss, if you have a friend, this can all apply. And the step-by-step is what I think you're talking about the part where I talk about repeating and recycling versus the recovery. That little nugget right there is something that any victim of narcissistic abuse, or you can even say toxic relationship, you can carry that with you and literally just kind of look and see where you are and recognize it and shift it over. You can literally on your own, in your day in and day out, take those few steps in the 2 recovery models and look at, am I back into repeating and recycling, or am I quicker to shift to the recovery? Now, give yourself some grace. And I love that you use that word, because you're going to see at first how long it takes to shift back to recovery process. Then as time goes on, you will build resilience in the recovery process and the shift will come back faster. So yes, very, very excited about this recovery model.
I am too. And just to give a hint, I do believe that you're putting together a program so that people that would like to actually work with you, because you are a counselor,
Yes.
if they would like to work with you on these steps, they can do that, which is fantastic. When you have an author that is willing to teach on their expert subject matter. That's really
absolutely
great.
Absolutely. And I'm just excited to take this recovery model and teach it and elaborate on it on a deeper level and see how we can apply it to all relationships and see how we can stop those recycling and repeating of the patterns and to shift into our healing ways.
Now, I want to talk, my last question is about that, because I'm going to put the link to the book underneath this video once it's finished. And I want to set expectations because, like I said, I've read this book 2.5 times. And these steps are actionable, but they're work. They're made for somebody that is ready to feel joy. They're made for somebody that is ready to move beyond the things that they have thought designed them and defined them into what is truth. Can you give a little expectation of a reader that's picking it up? What kind of a time frame? Because I know people tend to want to get, instant results, and they think that they're failing if they don't get something right away. Could you explain what they should expect when they start this process?
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be how willing they are and how much they want to put into it and how much contact they actually have with the abuser. I will tell you, the healing will be much, much faster if the safety space is created to do the work now versus someone that's still in that toxic relationship. And I know for some people, they just can't leave, whether it's a marriage or they're just not ready. And the trauma bond that I talk about, the chemical addiction to the abuser person, it all depends. So if they're still in contact and how addicted they are and how many other addictions they've developed being in this abuse, it can take longer. So no contact, safety, fast, minimal contact, and some healing a little bit slower. The ideal is to go no contact as much as possible, create safety, and then start healing and using the healing principles. But you still can you could still definitely grow and heal. Like if you have 3 kids and a full-time job, you just can't get all into this, and that's okay. But as long as you tap into it a little bit daily, even if it's 15 minutes to meditate on it, pick up a new principle, think about it, journal about it, chew on it, and maybe at some point give yourself some time to grieve it. If you can tap into that little bit, then you're definitely moving along the way. But it's not going to be as fast as if somebody completely goes no contact from the abuser and does the work.
And that makes complete sense. It's like you can't have a diet and then have cake in the house all the time, right? That wouldn't really make sense.
You can have cake, but you'll be ruminating about it, right?
Right. I'll just lick the frosting. It's not really a whole piece.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Melissa. Denial is huge in this. Denial is huge in this. If you out there can start looking at the denial and the pictures, your brain has taken a snapshot of the potential of the relationship versus the reality of the relationship, that's going to be a big percentage of it.
That's a great way to look at it. If you were to sit down and think, okay, in my mind, what has this potential been? And think of it like a painting, right? And then visualize, what am I really dealing with? And see how different those are. And that will motivate action. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure. And just to say, going from fantasy to reality, fantasy to reality, that's going to crack. You got to look at the denial before you can really look at the healing process.
Well, thank you for writing this book, because I didn't realize how much I needed it until I read it. Yes. And today only, it is 99 cents for today only. So go grab a copy of this book, and please, by all means, let us know what you think of it. It is transformative. It helped me just in the times that I've read it. I've been working on one specific thing that I won't talk about because it's about you, Azadeh. But it's been a great book. I'm very excited that it's out there, and I would love to see people, whether you personally have dealt with narcissism, or if you have a friend that's in a relationship that you know is narcissistic, and even if they're not quite aware, that might be a really passive way to get them some help to understand, because once you get past this, the confidence level goes up, right? How you feel about yourself, how you react to other people, which directly ties into how successful can you be in life? How successful can you be in relationships? That's all tied in. And when you're dealing with narcissism, you're never really letting yourself get to the next level, because they won't let you. Right.
You can't be focusing on keeping yourself safe and thriving at the same time. It's not possible here for me, that someone that has tried. If I could really quick, I want to share one thing out of this, if I may, Melissa, the target.
Share.
The T in repeat, I have labeled as target, and I'm reading out of my manuscript. And so how you can write just from this video, a takeaway is that you can pay attention to your own ways. Are you highly agreeable? Do you easily enmesh? Do you highly identify? Are you an empath? Do you need to be seen so bad that you are always looking on the external for people to validate you? Are you a natural rescuer? Are you one of those people that's like the light of the world? Are you highly complimentary? Are you a natural cheerleader? And are you vague with your boundaries? These are all what narcissists sniff for.
That was the part that got me, by the way.
Yeah.
I read that and I was like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and they are designed, their personality, if they have NPD, which is narcissistic personality disorder, versus some people that have narcissistic traits, two different things. For either case, you want to be very careful to be clear with your boundaries. See, although they are abusive, they do force you to connect yourself and heal and get your boundaries straight so you don't fall down again in these toxic relationships. So those are just a few things. If you're a rescuer, if you're a fixer, you don't have a self, if you struggle with codependency, these are all magnets to this personality type, because they're looking to get you and you're looking for them to see you, and it becomes this magnetic tie and a dance that is just ungodly and highly damaging. So we can start today in connecting to ourselves first.
I would imagine that at least half the people that are watching this would agree that they have at least one of those traits. Absolutely. Narcissism is so common. And I even read that all of us have it on some level, because we're human beings. It's just, what level do you have it and how does it present itself?
Absolutely. And that's a really good point, Melissa. And those traits that I mentioned, I share them, do them with someone that has earned and deserves these things from you. I have these characteristics with my husband. I mean, we're not codependent, but I am highly agreeable. I am complimentary. I do try and help. But it's when it's one-sided, it's when it's a problem, when you're the only one doing it for you and overcompensating for them. So that's when it gets enmeshed and toxic and unhealthy.
Yeah, when there's a lack of reciprocation. If there's no reciprocation, there's your sign.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on with me today. I am so glad I got to introduce you to my peeps, and we'll share this video across a few more of the platforms. I am so proud to have been on this journey with you. I'm very excited to have met you and learned from you. And I look forward to even your next book.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa, for publishing my book. You're amazing. You're amazing. Thank you.
Oh, stop. No. All right. Well, you have a wonderful evening out there on the west side of the country. We're shaping up into evening now here out in Maine. But this was wonderful. And guys, go get that book. It is life-changing, life-changing. Okay. Thank you all. Have a wonderful night.
Bless you all.